Story 1. Boyfriend bought his female friend a Tiffany necklace for her birthday. Help me decide if I'm blowing this out of proportion before I overreact. My boyfriend of 11 months has a best friend. A girl best friend. I've been totally fine with this from the beginning because she was here before me and they've been friends since college. Although I feel it's important to add that they've never had the chance to date because they were both in relationships when they met. She's also been single for the past 3 months. Her birthday is this Friday, and my boyfriend wanted to get her something really special. I thought that was sweet of him until I realized what he had bought her. Now I feel like it's extremely inappropriate, and at the risk of sounding like a bee, I want him to take it back. He claims she's been wanting this specific necklace from Tiffany forever, so he bought it for her. He refused to tell me how much he spent on it, but I found an identical one on their website and it cost $250. To put it mildly, my boyfriend's really excited to give it to her. He says it's also a thank you gift for helping him through a couple crappy semesters at graduate school. She's extremely smart and was in the same program. Okay, fine, but a necklace? Why not a gift card or something less romantic? She wants to have a friend date with him on Thursday as an early birthday celebration, so he's taking her out for lunch or dinner on Thursday, which means they're going to get drunk. I've never had a problem with this girl, but I don't like how close they are. She's always been nice to me, but I can't help but feel like they might have some underlying feelings for each other. How can I solve this? Perhaps I could suggest to him that we both get her something, and then have him take back the necklace while we still have time. Any ideas? Alright, so there's a number of things going on here. First, I don't feel like a necklace is inherently like a romantic gift. Like, I think most of the people that I have bought like necklaces and jewelry for have been like my stepmom and parents and stuff like that. I don't know. So it might not be an inherently romantic thing to him. And maybe she has always wanted this. And I know a lot of people are going to say like, whoa, but he spent $250 on that. That's a ton of money. We don't know what he makes. Like, they were in a college program. He might make a ton of money to where spending $250 on a friend, especially a best friend, might not actually be that huge of a deal. I've definitely known people who would spend more than that on friends. So I don't know. I don't inherently see a problem with this. If you haven't been seeing other stuff that leads you to believe that something is going on or that you should feel suspicious, I would just kind of like talk to him openly, express like, it makes me feel a little bit concerned and a necklace feels a little romantic to me, and maybe just listen to his side and believe him, and if things continue to feel off and weird, then maybe reapproach the subject. I don't know, but I don't necessarily see a problem with this. Story 2. Today I effed up by lying about when I had last been with another woman. This is pretty fresh, so I feel like I may be rambling a bit, but here goes. Last summer/early fall, I had gotten out of a supremely toxic relationship with my emotionally and verbally abusive girlfriend, which officially ended last October. I know the stereotype is that people will talk about their past relationships in a bad light, but this was someone that drove her vehicle into a curbed median in the middle of a main street to prove some kind of point while screaming at me, running red lights so that I couldn't exit the vehicle on my own accord. Needless to say, I had dropped most contact until closer to the holidays when I got an out-of-the-blue apology for the way I was treated, telling me she had been doing a lot of work on herself and realized how she let things going on in her life bleed into the way she treated me. Having been a close to 2-year-long relationship, I obviously still cared about her to a certain extent. However, whatever love I had for her had been tainted and was mostly destroyed by the way I was treated. Regardless, I chose to maintain contact with her, knowing full well about the absolute hell she had put me through. In hindsight, this was my first mistake chronologically, but second in terms of weight. I finally got up the nerve to put myself out there and had started dating again close to January after a fling with an older woman I'd known for years. I'm early 30s and her late 40s. I made a promise to myself that I was going to date with intent to find my person. That meant no intercourse/hookups at all, and even avoiding situations that would lead to a kiss on the first date if the opportunity arose. Respectful and with the sole purpose of getting to know the person. Few good dates here and there, but nothing worth mentioning. Through healing from my last relationship, I made a promise to not overlook red flags in hopes that they're only fleeting. So most of the interactions ended after a few dates with me thanking them for their time and telling them that I enjoyed the time spent, but that I didn't feel like it was what I was looking for. Fast forward a few months, I ended up going on a date with a woman that traveled for work. I felt like we hit it off instantly. Same sense of humor, very similar tastes, same page on the important topics, etc. She was amazing. We went on a couple chill dates here and there, nothing too serious, just chatted and enjoyed each other's company. After a few weeks and her week-long trip back home, things got cold. Stopped getting responses as frequently. I made another attempt at seeing her again. She ended up telling me that she had decided to take a step forward with another relationship. We were obviously both going on dates, and we're both adults here. Regardless, I was pretty bummed out at first, but kept up the friendship because that's what's important to me. I could tell that she's a great person, and I felt like she was someone I wanted in my life. I continued to go on dates and kept mild communication with my ex. Eventually, curiosity got the best of me. I was having poor luck dating, and my ex was showing interest in seeing me. I wanted to see how she was doing. Like an idiot, I invited her over. I made it clear that I just wanted to catch up. We talked for a bit, watched a movie. It was pretty clear that she hadn't changed at all. Halfway through the movie, it started storming pretty bad, and she didn't feel comfortable driving. Tornadoes were on the ground in some areas, so I don't blame her, but it was time for me to go to sleep. I have a huge bed and didn't want to make her sleep on the couch. I was single and didn't have any reason to, other than to protect my own sanity. As you've probably already guessed, she came on to me as I laid there with my back turned, trying to fall asleep. It was like falling back into a bad habit. Obviously, I had a choice, but she absolutely took advantage of my kindness and compassion in order to stay in the first place. For anyone that's been in a similar situation, when you're single and don't have any major warning lights going off in your mental dashboard, you're almost on autopilot. It had been almost a year since we separated, and prior to that, the relationship had been on the rocks many times over. So by this point, I hadn't been attached emotionally for quite some time. I had nothing other than general compassion for someone I once loved. The next morning, she left before I woke up. When I finally opened my eyes, I just laid there staring up at my ceiling, confused, disappointed, and almost ashamed that I didn't do anything differently. I didn't say anything to her for most of the day until she asked me if the night before was weird. I told her that it was, and that it wasn't what I had planned, that I didn't regret it, I wasn't upset, even though both of those were not entirely true the more I thought about it, and that something was off about it. I was the one that got taken advantage of, and there I was trying to let her down softly. Communication didn't go much further than her eventually trying to get a rise out of me with an off-the-wall hateful comment designed to get me to interact. Having already been attuned to this without being blinded by emotions, I responded tactfully in a manner that didn't feed into it, but still put it to rest. That was the end. The actual end. Next thing I know, an exact week later, I get a text from the traveler letting me know that she was breaking up with her boyfriend. We ended up hanging out quite a few times over the next couple of weeks. One in particular, she let me bring her some coffee the same day we already hung out. Something that I had offered and was turned down on after a couple of our first dates back in the beginning. I felt like it was fairly clear that she wanted to see me and was still interested. Eventually, she expressed interest in coming over to my house. I had already been to hers quite a few times while interested, yet still platonically at this point, so I wasn't expecting anything. We watched a movie and laid there talking about all kinds of stuff. This is where I truly effed up worse than I've ever effed up in my life. We ended up on the topic of past relationships, and in a negative light, she made mention of a situation that in my mind directly mirrored the timing of my past month's events. Obviously, this put me on edge. At some point, she asked me about my past with intimate interactions. She told me that she didn't care, but wanted to know. Jesus effing Christ. I said that I had been pretty much celibate for the last 6 months. She said, "Really?" And I, What kind of effing idiot am I? In my head, I'd already written off the interaction with my ex because I felt taken advantage of. Some part of me felt like it almost didn't count. Like, that doesn't make sense when I say it out loud. For the life of me, I can't understand why I thought that was a good idea. Later on that night, she ended up professing that she wanted to date me exclusively. I just started off a relationship with a woman of my dreams with a stupid lie that probably wouldn't have been that big of a deal. The next couple months were an absolute dream. It felt like the time we spent together platonically before now just made our connection grow stronger and faster than normal. Everything this woman does is amazing. I took her to meet my family and my friends. Across the board, they gave a solid 11 out of 10. They all thought she was awesome. We complement each other's personalities like puzzle pieces. She treated me better than I had ever been treated, and she said that I did the same for her. We talked about everything. I wasn't afraid to tell her anything. I was already crazy about her, but I fell in love, like a real love. Not simple infatuation, but a love that for the first time in my life was reciprocated fully and beyond what I had hoped for. Making love was the most amazing experience I've ever shared with someone. What we had felt real, connected, and free of any fear or anxiety. Yesterday morning, it all came crumbling down around me. We were going to meet up with my sister to pick something up, and my sister told me that my ex was at the bar too. I didn't want to see her, but I also wasn't afraid or anything. She decided that we should opt to stay in the car. We went back home and relaxed. She ended up giving me the first massage any girlfriend had ever given me. It was past midnight at this point, and I already sleep on my stomach, so I fell asleep after about 5 to 10 minutes. Apparently, the interaction we had earlier sparked a question in her head. She works night shifts, so I'm sure she sat up most of the night thinking about it. When we woke up, I went to give her a hug and kiss, but instead of the usual warm, loving interaction, she kind of made distance between us in the bed and said that she needed to ask me about something. I could tell that she wasn't happy, but I didn't know why. Then she directly asked me when was the last time I had been with my ex. In all of my relationships, I've always been a loyal and faithful partner. I may not have told the whole truth before, but I'm not a liar, and I didn't lie in the first place for any malicious reason. I was just scared of having something amazing blow up in my face over a stupid choice I made that already resolved itself prior to this relationship. This is someone that I love. This is someone that for the last month I've been cultivating a relationship free of fear, doubts, and anxiety. I told her the truth. I have so much more to lose now, and I chose to tell the truth. Somehow it seemed like she already knew. She's a couple weeks out from going out of state for her next assignment, and now she doesn't know if she can trust me. I can't blame her. I told her an unsolicited lie. Regardless of my reasons, I wasn't honest about it. So currently, my relationship is teetering towards destruction, and I feel like a part of me is dying while I wait to find out what she decides. Just tell the truth. Even if the truth sucks, it's better than this. So first off, yeah, just tell the truth with these kind of things. Even if it seems uncomfortable, you don't want this stuff coming back up. Just be open and honest about this stuff. But the other thing I'll say to this person is, I feel like that is the kind of thing that you can work through and repair. And if she is like going to write off the whole relationship, even after hearing like your reasoning for it and everything, then I don't know if the relationship was going to work out in the end anyway, you know? Like, I feel like that's the kind of a mistake that a couple can talk about, learn from, and work through and move on. Like you weren't exclusively dating or anything. You lied about the fact that you had been intimately active, in the last 6 months. It's not great, It's something that she should be frustrated about and maybe question her trust in you a bit, but I don't think that should be enough to fully end a relationship, You didn't really, you didn't cheat or anything like that. I don't know. So I hope it all works out, and that you learn to just be open and honest. Story 3. My fiancé proposed to me, but it turns out the ring is fake. Hey guys, so my fiancé Mark, 30 male, and I have been together for 2 years. 2 months ago, he asked me to marry him, and he gave me a beautiful Cartier engagement ring. I was really excited, and of course, I said yes. It was a beautiful ring, and I was excited to be marrying the man I love. The other day, Mark and I worked together. I overheard 2 coworkers talking about Mark. Someone mentioned that Mark makes so much money, but he didn't even give his girlfriend a real ring. The person asked for clarification, and it turns out that Mark bought a Cartier box off of eBay, then bought a cubic zirconia ring to put in the box. I didn't want to believe it. Then I took my ring to a jeweler to get it checked. My ring is essentially worthless. It isn't anywhere near a diamond. Mark is on business right now. I'm so upset I haven't answered any of his calls or texts. I don't know what to say. Am I wrong for being this upset? I'm honestly starting to think this is a deal breaker. He's so cheap and stingy with his money, but at least I thought he'd buy me a good ring when I know he can afford it. What should I do? I'm gonna get some hate for this from someone, but I hate engagement rings, and especially the expectation that there be a diamond in an engagement ring. I mean, just even beyond the whole fact that this is something that was made up by diamond companies. Like, this is just people feeding in to rich corporations telling them what romance should be, and I hate that on its own. But that's not even what it's all about. It's just, most diamonds that you're finding in rings probably aren't ethical. You can find ethical diamonds, but then sometimes people get weird where they're just like, no, that diamond was made in a lab. It doesn't count. It only counts if it came from the blood of a child's hands or something. I just hate it. But also, it's an engagement ring. And maybe you should make the engagement ring special to that person. Maybe you get their birthstone or find out what their favorite stones are. Or maybe it doesn't even have a stone in it. Maybe they just absolutely love like cats and stuff. Maybe they're obsessed with cats, and so you get them a beautiful, white gold ring with like some cat stuff on it. Whatever. Why does it always have to be diamonds? Why do folks always have to just fall for this crap? I hate it. I hate wedding rings, so I'm not gonna side. He shouldn't have lied. He should not have lied about it. Don't lie and say that it's a real ring and all that kind of stuff. Like, the guy's a dingus for that, and you should be upset about lying, but to be like, how's it really love when it's not a real diamond? Story 4. Am I the a-hole for telling my friend that he deserved to be cheated on and then get beaten by her affair partner? My friend Mark, 18 male, has recently been having a lot of relationship troubles with his girlfriend, Leah, 18 female. They got together back in February of this year when we were still in high school, and their relationship has become a complete train wreck. Mark was, and still is, head over heels for Leah. He had told me and my other friends that she is definitely the one, and he eventually plans on marrying and settling down. This all seemed both premature and immature to me, but it's beside the point. Leah, on the other hand, is a nightmare. She cheated on Mark several times now, and every time she does, she gives Mark some lame story about him not being supportive enough, or that she made a mistake and that she wants to see him get jealous for her sake. He gobbles it up every time. According to Mark, Leah largely acts like this because her father was very abusive towards her and her mother, and therefore she carries a lot of trauma with her. Mark constantly reiterated that he wants to help her work past that, but things haven't really been going his way. Since September, Leah has been seeing this other guy, Derek, 22 male, and she's 100% infatuated with him. I only know this based off of what my other friends and Mark have been telling me because I was in another state for college. Mark has been arguing a lot with Leah about Derek, and she's threatened to leave Mark if he doesn't just simply accept her for who she is. He did. Not only that, he and Leah have entered what he calls a semi-open relationship. This means, according to Mark, that Leah is allowed to see Derek as much as she wants, but Mark isn't allowed to see anyone else. This is because Leah feared Mark would become emotionally invested in them and leave her. Mark begrudgingly agreed to this and has been teething for months about it. Since about November, Leah has been seeing Derek more than she does Mark. While Mark doesn't admit to it, our other friends have told me that she is essentially in a full-time relationship with Derek and only comes to Mark for money and emotional support. Fast forward to this week and I'm back home for the break. Mark started texting me on Saturday saying that he hated Derek for trying to steal his girl and wanted to beat his butt that night. He said that he wanted me to come along since all of our other friends couldn't. They made up excuses to not go. They've told me this, but Mark doesn't know. Since I just got back home the other day, I was still exhausted, so I point-blank refused Mark's request. I told him that Leah was a lost cause and I wasn't going to fight some people I'd never seen for her. Mark started begging me, saying that Leah is the love of his life and that he needs my help. I refused again. He then says that he'll go on his own, but I told him that he probably shouldn't. I woke up Sunday morning to more than 300 messages on my phone from Mark and all of our friends. Long story short, Mark went over to Derek's place to bring Leah back. He ended up getting his butt kicked by Derek and his friends. They only stopped when Leah asked them to. I asked Mark and told him that he should probably talk to a lawyer or something, but he refused since Leah asked him not to escalate the situation. I then told him that he was being dumb, and this triggered him so much. He started saying how I was a bee and a snake for not backing him up and how I was a fake friend. I was so irritated at this point, so I told Mark that he deserved to get jumped and that it all made sense why Leah preferred Derek over him. He hung up on me, and we haven't spoke since. Since then, my other friends have been saying that I'm an a-hole for how I handled the conversation, but they do agree Mark is a dumb butt. Am I the a-hole? I mean, a little bit. You could have been a little bit nicer to this teenager. Mark, this child, he's acting extremely immature, and also he is saying the things that when I hear them from anyone, be them 18 or 25 or whatever, the moment I hear them going like, it's the love of my life, I'll let her get away with anything and I won't hold her accountable for any of her actions. It's like, oh, you're not emotionally mature enough to be in a serious relationship. You need to grow and learn, because none of what you've said is wrong. Here's me, a hologram projection of Luke Skywalker saying, everything you just said is wrong. Blah. Mark, he needed some tough love. You might have been a touch too harsh, but also I can't totally blame you for it. So were you maybe a bit of an a-hole? Yeah. But did Mark maybe need an a-hole to help set him straight? Maybe. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.